Hello balloon artists. Hi, I'm Melanie from Balloon Artworks in Derbyshire in the UK. I'm going to be showing you how to make one of my big head villain characters. She's one of my big head series. Let's get started straight away. For the base I'm using 5 pearl black 11-inch rounds and 4 lilac 11-inch rounds. The black I'm inflating to 9 inches. Just inflate and then slip through the sizing box, and I tend to demonstrate using the sizing box and a basic inflator because not everyone has got the fancy equipment. Okay, so just tie, cross over the neck, wrap around a couple of times, round off, make another one of these, take your duplets and just connect them together in the usual way, okay? And the lilac cluster we're sizing to 7 inches. Okay, twist in that neck. Okay, and then stretch the neck over one another and tie. It's pretty round already, and make another one of those and take your duplets and just connect them together in the normal way. I've chosen a pearl finish for the base layer purely because I don't want that base layer to really stand out too much. I don't want the eye to be drawn to a super shiny base layer. Okay, so we're just putting the quads on top of one another, and as usual we're offsetting them so that you've got the 2 blacks on the bottom and 1 lilac in between, 2 blacks on the bottom and 1 lilac in between, okay? And what we can do is just take the neck, one of the bottom balloons, and pull that up into the centre of the lilac cluster and just wrap in a figure of 8 motion around that top layer. Okay, that connects them together really well. Now I've got a nice heavy sand weight. So this weighs about 750 grams and it's just made with 11-inch balloons. Normally I would match the colour of the sand weight to the base, but I want this to show up really well on camera what I'm doing. So I'm taking hold of that inner neck, pulling it into the base, pulling that through both tiers and wrapping the neck around the spring lilac balloons, again in that figure of 8, just working my way around until I've run out of neck. Okay, and that's me done. Okay, so there's your base. That's a really firm, sturdy base. For these bases you need a really heavy weight and a really good footprint. Next, take a 646, I'm using grey, and inflate to a tail of about 4 fingers or so. I'm just going to soften that slightly and put a twist, okay. I'm going to tie in a 350 into the knot. Okay, to give me that good attachment point. Okay, so you've got a tail there of perhaps 5 fingers in fact. If you can get a lilac balloon this sort of size, then it is better if you can use one of those. But in the absence, a grey will do. Okay, so take those tails, pull them through into the base and wrap around a few times. Next, take a 350 with a tail of about 4 fingers, twist off a bubble of about 3 to 4 fingers and pinch twist. Okay. Bring your 350 across the front of the balloon. Make sure it's nice and soft. And then you want about 4 fingers of balloon sticking out here across the front. The same on the other side approximately. Make a twist and then twist off another bubble of 3 to 4 fingers and pinch twist that. Okay, so that's what you've got. Bring the rest of the balloon around the back of the sculpture and wrap in to that pinch twist there. You're going to need 2 350 balloons with a tail of 4 or 5 fingers, and take the nozzle and wrap it into the pinch twist there. Okay? And do the same thing on the other side. Just take that nozzle and wrap it into the pinch twist. Okay? So we want to bring this balloon up about 6 inches or so. Twist off a bubble of about 3 to 4 fingers and pinch twist that. Okay? And do the same thing on the other side. Twist a bubble of about 6 inches. A bit taller, I think. Okay, and then twist off a bubble of about 3 to 4 fingers and pinch twist that. Okay. We want these sides to be pushed out slightly, so you can take this balloon around the front and wrap it directly into this pinch twist here. Okay, and we can do the same thing with the balloon at the back. Wrap that in. You can snip off this end if you've got one and tie. Next, I've got a 646 with a 4-finger tail, and this is really soft. And you can just wrap that into the pinch twist here and wrap the other end here at the other side. Next, I've got 2 350s with tails of about 4 fingers, and I've tied them directly together. I'm going to pull them underneath this lilac balloon here. I'm going to flatten this down slightly, bring this side up, put a twist in here and wrap that into the pinch twist there. And do the same thing on the other side to match this first side. I'm now taking a 350 with a tail of 4 to 5 fingers, passing it underneath that top lip and through here. Okay, putting a twist here, and I'm just going to tie it all together at the back here. Snip off the end and tie. And again, I'm leaving myself a long bit here just in case I need it for something. Next, I'm going to take these bits at the back across to the centre of that column, twist off a bubble, okay, and pinch twist this bubble. Okay, and then take the other side across and wrap that directly into the pinch twist and we can pinch twist what's left here. So we've got this cluster of pinch twists here. I've inflated a 646 to a tail of a couple of fingers, but this is really, really soft, and that's very important that this is very soft, okay? So take that knot and nozzle and wrap it into the pinch twist here at the side. Okay, and take that top loop over the top to the pinch twist on the other side, and just wrap that end in there. Next, take two white 5-inch rounds. I happen to be using pearl white. And just inflate with a couple of strokes. Put a twist in the neck and take a 160 and just tie that directly into the 5-inch round, as you would if you were connecting a balloon to a piece of monofilament for a string of pearl arch, okay? Take your 160 and tie the second eyeball onto the 160 as well. Okay, we can trim off these nozzles, and you can adjust the eyeballs just by moving them along the 160 as you need to. And just tie the eyeballs on to that grey 646, just using that 160. Okay, take a 260 with a tail of perhaps 5 or 6 fingers and twist off a bubble of a couple of fingers and pinch twist that. Okay, make another bubble the same size. Okay, and pinch twist that. Okay, give everything a bit of a squeeze. And so we're starting to form the eye area now. I just need to have a look at my sculpture. So I'm twisting off a bubble that is about 5 inches or so. So I'm putting that across the centre of the 646, and I want these pinch twists to extend beyond the eyeball, okay? Make a bubble of a couple of fingers and pinch twist. Make another bubble of a couple of fingers, pinch twist that. Okay, so that's what you've got. Make another bubble to match this one. Okay, whoops. And then make another bubble and pinch twist that. And another bubble and pinch twist that. Okay, so that's what you've got. We can position this across the front of the face, take the balloon round the back and just wrap the end into these pinch twists here. Take another 260 in lilac and inflate to a 4 or 5 finger tail. That's a little bit of air out. Okay, give your balloon a squeeze. Okay, and wrap the knot and nozzle into the pinch twist here. Split your balloon in half, approximately, and twist off a bubble. Okay, and wrap that into the pinch twist here. And then we can take the rest over the top of the other eye and wrap into this pinch twist here. Just going to take a look at things, make sure that they're pretty even. Take a 350 with a 6-finger tail and wrap the knot and nozzle into that cluster of pinch twists at the back. Okay, bring that 350 around the front of the sculpture behind the top lip. Let's have a look. And then wrap the end, just twist off the end, snip the end and then tie. And then wrap that into this cluster as well. Take a 260 with a 4 or 5 finger tail, and again we're wrapping that around this central 646 and just wrapping around at the back. Just wrap around and twist off a bubble, and then take that knot and nozzle and wrap it around, and then we can snip off the end. And tie. So I'm just going to use this long tail here, and I'm just going to pull it into those pinch twists, but I'm not pulling tightly, so it's just holding it in position, but it's not actually under any kind of tension there. Take 2 350s and inflate to a tail of 4 to 5 fingers or so. Let a little bit of air out, just soften, put a twist, and then inflate the next one to the same sort of length. Soften again, twist and tie. Okay. Take those 350s and wrap them into the pinch twist at the bridge of the nose just here. So just pull them into that pinch twist, and then just swap them over just to secure them in position. Next, take a 5-inch round in lilac and inflate with a couple of strokes of the hand pump, and then tie. And then pull that through into the side of the lip here and secure. And do the same thing on the other side. Next, I'm going to use these 350s, position them across the top of the lip, and then bend round and into these connections here. I need to look at the sculpture to do that. So I can just wrap around the 5-inch round that I've put in position there. With the rest of this 350, just snip off the end and tie. And attach that here, so just pull that into those pinch twists there. And do the same thing on the other side. Take a small piece of 350 lilac and inflate. Let a lot of the air out. So we don't want a huge nose given the size of the sculpture. So perhaps something that's about 4 inches or so. Tie that off. The size of nose you need will very much depend on the proportions of your sculpture. Okay, and then we just want to wrap this into the bridge of the nose there. round. For the hair, take a white 350 and inflate to a tail of perhaps about 4 fingers or so. Let a little bit of air out. Make another one of these. So twist off a bubble that is maybe 7 inches or so, and then twist off another bubble to match. Okay, wrap the two together and pass that knot and nozzle through. Okay, take your second 350 and make a smaller bubble than the ones you've just made. Okay, by about 1 inch, so maybe 6 inches or so. And make another bubble to match that. Twist the two together and pass the knot and nozzle through. Okay, give everything a squeeze. Make smaller bubbles to match this one, perhaps by about 1/2 inch or 1 inch. Not critical. Okay, and make another bubble to match that one. Okay, take your other white bubbles and just twist the two together. Take a bit of 260 and wrap your 260 around. I usually start with the larger ones. It's not critical, okay? And with the largest piece of 260, bring the next set of bubbles up, pass that over the top and round, and just tighten. Okay, bring up your next set of bubbles, take your 260 over the top and through. Okay, and that's just going to secure all those in position. Then you can take this back up to the top, your first set of bubbles, pass that 260 through, and then you can tie on to this tail that you left here. Okay, and I'll tie a couple of times because all that's under quite a bit of tension. Okay, and then we can trim off the ends here. Next, take a 160 in silver and inflate. I always inflate my 160s with the big hand pump rather than the pocket pump, because I find with the pocket pump, I find you get ridges, you get bands, and I just find using the bigger pump quicker and easier to do. Okay, that's just one of my foibles, I think. Okay, and then take the knot and nozzle and pass that into the centre of these bubbles and just wrap that in. Just secure that. Okay. And wrap that round a few times. Okie dokie. And then I just want to, just on one of these, I just want to wrap that around. So this character's got some little flecks of grey in her hair. So I'm just going to twist that in. Okay, and then I can break this off and just tie that end. There comes a point when your sculpture's just too big to work on and you're probably going to need to put it onto a low table, as I have done. So now I'm going to put a twist into this 646. I'm just going to snip off the end and then I'm going to tie a knot. And I always leave this till about this point. I don't do it earlier because these things kind of take on a life of their own, and sometimes you're never quite sure just how far you're going to go up and how much you need to cut off. Cut off the ends of the hair. And tie tie them together. And tie these directly onto that bit of excess at the top. Okay, you can trim off the messy bits now. And using a couple of 260s with tails of perhaps about 3 fingers, you can make more sections of hair. So I'm going quite long, maybe 8 inches or so with these bubbles. Twist together, pass the knotty nozzle through. And then what I'm going to do with this, I'm just going to split it in half. And then twist that in. I've got similar sized bubbles. I mean, that's the great thing about this hair. It doesn't matter if those are, you know, I would have preferred a little bit lower, but that will work fine. So don't get hung up on it. And then twist off a bubble that is a little bit shorter. Because the great thing about this character's hair is it does move around a lot. So, you know, you've got quite a bit of license to do what you want with it. And then again, I would split this in half and wrap that in. Snip off the end. And tie as we did before. And then just twist these together. For these 260s, I use a bit of 160 just to connect everything together. So again, starting at the top, the largest one, just wrap your 160 around. And you need some long tails on either side, and then take your next loop and wrap that around. And then take the next largest loop and wrap that around as well. The next one. I find with the 350s when I'm doing this, I need something that's a bit stronger than a 160, which is why I use the 260 when I'm doing the 350. Okay. So that's what we've got. We can pass the tails through the middle. And tie them in the middle. Okay, and you can make as many of these as you want for your character's hair. So at this point we've got options for attaching our hair. We can attach them here at the pinch twists, or we can use this bit of 160 strap that we've got for the eyes and just pass the 260 underneath that and tie on the hair. Again here, I'm just tying onto the 160 strap. Quite loosely, I'm not pulling it tight at this point. Once you've got a few sections of hair in place, you can actually attach to the hair. So I'm going to attach this section here to the back of this section, and that's going to connect everything together. So I'm taking a piece of 160 and just tying it in to these bubbles here. Let me show you. So I've got the 160 and I'm just loosely tying that onto the bit of silver 160. And then I'm going to connect that to one of these loops here. Just pass that through and then tie that back on. Once I'm happy with everything, I can go around tidying up, hiding knots, trimming off bits of excess. Okay? And then I've got another bit of 160, and I'm just going to tie that on here. And then I'm going to connect that to one of the bubbles at the back here. And just cinch everything together. So you need to stand back and look at how things are working out and adjust accordingly. And this one I'm just going to tie around one of the bubbles here, around that 350. Quite loosely. And then just wrap the end of that 160 back into the hair arrangement. I'm going to connect this section into the pinch twist here. Take a 160 in Caribbean blue, fold in half and cut. Okay, I'm using the nozzle end, so just tie a knot in the end. Take a 5-inch round in Caribbean blue, fold that 160 in half and put it into your 5-inch round. So you want it so that the nozzles are lined up and the knots sticking out. And inflate the 5-inch round to about 4 inches or so. And then for this I do use my pocket pump. So you're now inflating the 160 inside the 5-inch round. I think that was 10 strokes. So take hold of the nozzle and take hold of the tail of that 160. Pull them together, don't worry if the 5-inch round goes down, and tie twice. Okay, and then we can trim off these messy bits. And we can just inflate a little bit. Okay, and as you let the air out, I want you to bend both sides down and the middle up, okay? So like that. and make another one of these. So you can trim off the nozzle, okay, and we can pressure fit this above the eyeball. And do the same thing on the other side. Take a 160, you need quite a bit of slack here, and a tail of 4 or 5 fingers. Wrap the 160 into the pinch twists here, and then go underneath the eyeball, behind this bit here, come out through the other eyeball, adjusting your upper eyelid, and then here, and then wrap into the pinch twist here. Break this off, and tie. Next, take a 160 with a tail of 2 or 3 fingers, and we want to fold this roughly in half, okay? And at this point, the centre point, just wrap a 160 around there, okay? And I have snipped off the tip end. And I'm just going to use these 160s to loosely pull this into the top of the nose. Underneath the nose and into those pinch twists. At the ends of the 160, I'm just going to arc back into the back of the hair and tie in at a convenient point. Take a 160 with a tail of maybe 4 fingers or so, and we're going to make a little section to fill in this part here. So I'm going to make a bubble of about 5 inches or so, make another bubble to match that one, twist the two together and pass the knot and nozzle through, make another set of bubbles a little bit smaller, maybe ½ an inch smaller than the first set, and make another bubble to match that one. If you want to, you can pass those through so they're not going to come undone. And then we want another set of bubbles, another pair of bubbles, just a little bit smaller than this one. Okay. Again, if you want to switch them round, just lock them in position, and we can trim off the end and tie that round. Okay. Some of you may want to take this tail and go over the top and cinch everything together. But what that's going to do, that's going to compress everything and it's going to make things open up. And actually, I want to position this slightly differently to how we've been doing some of the other arrangements. So, as before, I'm taking a little bit of 160 and wrapping it through the tops of the bubbles. Okay, like so. And then bringing that back over and I'm tying here so I can hide the knot inside. I just want to play around a little bit with the positioning of the bubbles that I've got, moving them around until I've got something that I'm happy with that will sit here. And then I'm going to attach a bit of 160 scrap round the back here and I'm going to attach that to this grey 160. 160 behind the grey 160. So I can tie this in position. Find balance, you don't want it too tight and you don't want it too slack. Next I'm using a 160 black with a 3-finger tail, just to give this lady some pretty fierce eyebrows. Okay, so just wrap that 160 into the pinch twist here. I'm going to extend the eyebrows into the hairline. So going quite far up, giving everything a squeeze. I'm going to go up over the top of the eye socket and twist here, okay? I then want to match these bubbles on this other side. So I just want to copy those. And as luck would have it, I'm pretty much at the right length there, which is more by luck than judgment, I do assure you. I'm just going to snip off the end. And then I'm going to wrap this into the pinch twist here. Take a 160 and wrap that around that split there and pull those eyebrows down through behind the eye sockets and below this 350 here. Pull them down and then go back up and round again. And then we can just adjust our eyebrows. So I'm just building out the hair a bit more. Next, take a 350 red and make loops of about 4 inches or so. Just twist. Pass the knotty nozzle through, okay, so that doesn't come undone. And make another loop to match this one. Okay. And then we can trim off the end and tie. Take your lips, and I'm just going to pressure fit them behind this 646. Okay. I've cut the tips off for 160s and those pieces are just 2 inches long. Next I'm taking a little bit of glue and I'm just going to glue 2 of the pieces together. So I just need a spot of this glue. So this is just ordinary glue. Okay, don't get hung up about what sort of glue to use. This is just ordinary glue. and I'm just going to set that aside and allow it to dry. Take the rest of the black 160 and just tie a knot in the end. And then we want to puff inflate the rest of this just by getting hold of the nozzle end, pushing your fingers down and tying a knot, okay? So that middle bit is just kind of puff inflated. And we can trim off these messy ends. Take your 160 and pass it through the eye socket at this side and at this side as well. Okay. Without securing this piece of 160 in position, when you transport your piece, that's going to drop away. So I'm going to use a bit more glue just to hold that in position in a couple of places. So I'm just going to apply the glue directly onto the eyeball, just a couple of spots. And then I just need to leave that to dry for a second. If you're concerned at all about the eyelid dropping away, you can put a glue dot in there as well. I tend not to bother with that, but if you're concerned that that is going to drop away, if it's not well pressure fitted, then you know, just drop a drop of glue in there as well. And then I'm just going to take the 160 and just position that on top of the glue. Next, I want to position the eyelashes just about here. So again, I'm just going to use a small amount of glue directly onto the eyelashes there. Just give it a couple of seconds to cure a little bit. Don't want it to be runny. And then I'm just going to put that there. Okay, and do the same thing on the other side. I've decided to accentuate the eyes a little bit more, so I've got a puff inflated 260 and I'm going to feed the knot end under the bridge of the nose. And just pass 260 over the top of the blue, and then I want the tip end to appear just at this point here. I'm going to apply another spot of glue just up here. And then one last spot at the corner here. Okay, and then do the same thing on the other side, but I would start with the grey 260 first. For the eyeball, I'm using a black Posca pen. I'm literally just drawing a circle and colouring that in. Take another 260, puff inflated and cut off the nozzle. And then just pass this underneath the bridge of the nose. And the tip end through the side here. And I'm just going to put 2 little spots of glue, one here and one here, just to hold that in position. Do the same thing on the other side. Next we're going to make the earrings, and I've got a chrome purple with a tail of about 5 fingers, and I'm just making a 2-finger pinch twist. Okay, and then I'm going to twist off a bubble that is about 3 to 4 inches or so. And then I'm going to twist a bubble that is fractionally smaller, so not that much smaller actually. Okay, and then twist the 2 together. Okay, you can let the rest down and tie. I have tried larger earrings for this design, and it just, to my eye, it doesn't look quite right, so I prefer these smaller ones. Okay, just going to pull the earrings into that pinch twist here. You don't need to wrap in too tightly. And then you can just stand back and arrange how you want them. I'm using a chrome 260 with a 5 or 6 finger tail. Twist off a bubble of 2 to 3 fingers, pinch twist. Okay, make another bubble of 2 to 3 fingers, pinch twist that. Okay. Give a little squeeze, twist off a bubble that is perhaps about 3 inches, and make another bubble to match that one. Twist the 2 together. Give your balloon a squeeze. Make another bubble that is just a little bit smaller than the first ones, and then make another bubble to match that one. Twist them together. Okay, and make another set of bubbles that are just a little bit smaller than these, and make another bubble to match that one. Okay, twist the 2 together. Okay, we can trim off the end and tie. I'm taking a 160 gold and just wrapping the nozzle into the pinch twists. Okay. Find your largest set of bubbles. You want to work your way round in order of size. Okay. Stretch that 160 up over the top of your first set of bubbles, over the top of the second, over the top of the final set, and back down into those pinch twists, and back round into those pinch twists. Okay, you can come back up the other way to make sure everything is really well cinched together. Okay, and then just tie this off, and you can discard that 160. Take 2 gold 260s and tie together. Okay, and then pull the 260s into those pinch twists. I've got a U-glue dash which I'm just going to apply to the tip end of that 260. Okay. I'm going to fold it over because I don't want it to be seen extending beyond the 260. Okay, and I'm going to position the necklace, I want it to hide the join here, but I want the gold chain to extend outwards across the black balloons. So I'm just going to stick that 260 there and hold it in place for just a second. I'm taking a couple of 5-inch rounds and just inflating with 2 strokes of the hand pump, and these are pearl black, and then tying them directly onto a 260. Okay, and that's just to create a stretch duplicate. And the reason I'm doing this is because you remember I used a pink sand weight so that it would show it well on camera. Well, I can see that pink sand weight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip this duplicate, this stretch duplicate in here, and just position that there. So that's going to hide the sand weight. And I've got another stretch duplicate, this time size 2 7 inches. This character is very curvaceous, very generously proportioned. So I just want to fill out the base a little bit here, just to give the body a little more volume. I'm just doing that with a stretch duplicate. The mouth on this design is closed up a little bit more than I wanted. So what I'm doing, I've taken a 350, and that's perhaps 14 inches or so bubble. I've got a good amount of slack at each end. Take the bubble in between the lips and wrap the slack into the twists at the back here. I don't want to pull it too tightly. And then do the same thing on the other side. For the tentacles, create duplicates of 260s with tails of perhaps 4 fingers and connect these together. Okay? Twist off a bubble, twist 2 bubbles together. Take a duplicate of 160s with tails of 3 fingers, 3-4 fingers or so, and wrap those into that bubble there. Okay? And with these black 260s without bubbles, just bring those in front and bring the black balloons from behind and just twist together. Take another purple set of 160s and wrap those into that section there, okay, and just pass those behind the 260s at the back. Okay, so that's purely to keep those those 160 purples out of the way. So we're only going to be working with the black balloons at the moment. So just bring the black balloons forward and twist, okay? Bring the ones from the back forward and twist. And don't worry if you're getting uneven bubbles. It's actually a benefit with this design because you want each tentacle to be slightly different. You want it to curve in a different way. And so this is definitely one time not to get hung up on perfection. And just work your way to the end of the 260s. Okay, and when you run out of balloons, so I'm going to stop there with the black balloons, with the black 260s that are left under here. Just twist off a couple of bubbles, a couple of inches, and wrap them into the other 260s here. Okay? Now with these nozzles here, just tuck them underneath. Don't bother cutting them off because they will look a mess. If you cut them off, you'll end up with a little tuft sticking out. So it's actually just better to tuck them in. Okay, so here, now it's entirely up to you. You can just carry the 160s down and start here. Or if you want to, you can twist off a couple of bubbles. And then basically we're doing the same thing with the 160s. Okay? So we've tracked those 160s there and put a twist. Okay? And then bring the ones from behind forward and twist. And again, don't worry if your bubbles aren't even, as mine aren't there. So with everything going on, it's actually quite difficult to keep everything perfect, and perfection is certainly not what we want for this part of the design. So just carry on. We're getting towards the end of the balloons. Let's see whether this is long enough, because this is going on the underside of the tentacle. Take a little bit of 160 scrap and just wrap it around where you've twisted the 160s and tie. Okay? And then what we want to do is connect the two together. So where the two meet, just pass that 160 scrap through, wrap it around where you've twisted the 260s, wrap it around a couple of times, and then back through into the 160. And a bit further down the tentacle, do the same thing with another bit of 160 scrap. Just pass it through where we twisted the 160s together, tie off, okay, and then just find a point where you want to pull that in to the 260s, so we're pulling it in there, we're wrapping it around here, okay, and then pulling it back through into the purple tentacle and wrap around a few times and just lose the end inside. Okay, so that's connected the purple tentacle to the black. Okay, here I've actually done a little bit too much, so I'm just going to undo that and just twist these all together. And then we can start breaking off these ends and tying them off. And I'm going to do the same thing here and just make a stretch duplicate by tying this on. So we've got a pinch twist at the bottom here, which I'm going to use to attach this tentacle. I'm taking a 160 black and wrapping it into the end of this tentacle because I want to pull this forward. And I'm going to wrap the other end of the 160 into the base cluster. Pulling that forward. So there's your completed big head villain. I've got more villain big head characters in my tutorial series and hope to see you again at some point. Take care everyone.